Senior Bowl is over, and yes, this video is a little bit later than I wanted it to be, but that is besides the point. Kind of got a little bit busy, but is what it is. No excuses. I'm getting this out for y'all a little bit late, but let's get right into it. Senior Bowl rises, it says it right there, man. There was a lot of them. I tried to, make it as like the standouts. Some of the guys you might not see that were, really good this week may include guys that already had first round or high second round grades like Talise Fuaga, Jackson Powers Johnson, those types of guys. Let's get right into it. And even with that being said, how can I not include the guy that might have put himself even further up? He was the best player there, in my opinion. Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. He was the star of everyone to begin the first 2 days. Didn't practice the third day or participate in the game. His recovery speed and his length showed immediately. He was pressing guys. He had the ability to play off and break on balls and zone coverage and team drills. Like I said, he was playing press. He was using his length to his advantage. And man, he was intercepting, he was breaking up passes, he was doing everything that he possibly could and more. The dude looked special, and I think he is now starting to solidify himself with outside people who didn't really believe that he deserved that first round grade. He deserved it. Let me just say, you're going to see a lot more Quinyon Mitchell in first round mocks, I can tell you that, and it won't be in the 20s anymore. He might be up in the 10s. Best player in Mobile last week was Quinyon Mitchell. By far. Another guy that just went ballistic this week and was so fun to watch, Christian Haynes out of UConn. Another guy I just had to add. He definitely moved up to the early day two grade for me. He was kind of mid to late day two. Man, he showed power. He loved to finish plays. I mean, my God, I think it was from LSU. One of their D linemen that was there. I want to say Jefferson, but I think that might be wrong. I mean, Christian Haynes just completely bodied him. The entire rep just anchored down and just stood him up. And Jefferson didn't like it. Got a little too competitive, threw his helmet off. Thought we were going to have a little Myles Garrett situation, but we didn't. Thank God. A little more composure, though, please. We don't need helmets being thrown, especially with a crowd like that being so close. But at 6'2", 318, you might think, hey, that's a little undersized. It might be, but his strength, his power, his hands, pass protection, it all makes up for it. The dude is a monster. So what a week from Christian Haynes, another guy I just had to add, even though for some people he might have been up on boards because he just dominated the entire week. Another guy who dominated, and a lot of people, I should say, including myself, were wondering about this kid coming into the week. Not wondering anymore. Darius Robinson out of Missouri. Mizzou showed out this week. Let me just put it that way. Him and Chris Abrams-Drain were awesome. He comes in at 6'5", 286. Those are Senior Bowl measurements. Man, his length, his ability to go from speed to power or power to speed showed. He was bending. He was going inside once people started to catch on him going outside and around tackles. He showed that he had a plan, and he has a lot of versatility as well, like I have in here. He was being put at interior position, kind of at like a 4-3 D end, even a 3-4 D end. He was being played outside like an outside linebacker. You could put this cat anywhere. I think you could put him right up the A gap on the center, and you could run stunts with him. He's going to be a really fun player for whoever gets him. I don't know if he's first round for me, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone took a shot on him late in the first round. Definitely day two, early day two, he will go. If he doesn't go in day one, I think the combine with him is going to be really fun. See what his 40 is and his like broad jump, see that burst, 3-cone drill, whatever it is. See his burst, his acceleration, his speed, just his athleticism in general, because he's got a lot of it, and he showed it this week in Mobile. His stock, at least for me, skyrocketed. Obviously, I know guys like Daniel Jeremiah, other analysts had high grades on him. I wasn't too familiar with him, so this was a good chance to see him work in those one-on-one drills. And my God, did he ever just demolish people, man. It was just win after win for Darius Robinson this week. Probably the most dominant receiver of the week, Roman Wilson out of Michigan. Obviously, Michigan not known for its pass-heavy offense with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, I believe. But man, he showed out. He showed his twitchiness off the line. His release was awesome. He was one of the only people who actually beat Quinyon Mitchell. He might have been the only one to beat Quinyon Mitchell this week, or this last week, I should say. And it was with his twitchiness. You know, he comes in at 5'10", 186, but obviously we saw Zay Flowers last year. He came in at 5'9", I believe. It's a different league, man. It really is. Roman Wilson, day 2 grade for sure now. He was kind of floating around that area because he is a really good receiver regardless of this week. If you go back to film, he's awesome after the catch. His route running is crisp. His willingness to block might move him up even more because obviously at 5'10", 186, he's not going to be the greatest blocker in the world. However, you can be like a Puka Nacua last year, who maybe is a little bit undersized, but will block for you. And in Michigan's offense, he had to do that. And he didn't he wasn't pouting on the sideline like, man, give me the rock. Like, he was fine being a blocker, helping his team win. And then this week he got to be selfish. Not even. He just got to show out. And he did all week long. His release, man, I could watch it all day. It was awesome. Another receiver that showed off his route running ability is lad McConkey out of Georgia. Georgia receivers had a fantastic week, by the way. I'll get to another one later on in this. McConkey at 6 foot 187, a little bit light frame, but definitely 6 foot of that 190 range. You could more than get away with that. But lad, I was not too high on. I didn't think he was the greatest receiver ever. He did have some drop issues in the past, I believe. But his route running was awesome, dude. Like, next to Roman Wilson this last week, like, those two were by far, I think, the best route runners in Mobile. Like, it wasn't even close. And when you think of the Georgia offense, obviously you're thinking the run game and you're thinking Brock Bowers. Lad McConkey, he definitely drew some attention, not the attention that a Bowers would bring, but he definitely deserves his own flowers. And I loved in like the deeper to intermediate routes, especially in the red zone when they were working from the 20 to the goal line. His control, or his speed control, I guess you could call it, is what I did here. Within his routes, to hesitate and wait for the corner's hips or shoulders to drop and then go was chef's kiss, dude. That's what you love to see. I love watching receivers with clean route running, and he was fun to watch all week long. And he's a plus blocker. That Georgia offense, just like Michigan, ran the ball a ton, and he will block for you. So another thing, definitely not jumped up, but solidified as a day 2 guy. He will be gone before day 3, no doubt. Ooh, yes, sir. Go Cougs, baby. Chau Smith-Wade out of Washington State University. Let's go. Stand out in the game. He had 2 picks. One of them, great awareness. This is not college ball anymore, people. You can get up and run with the ball. And he probably ran like 150 yards on that return. He was all over the field. He showed his ball skills. And even when you go back to the practices, there was like a slot fade kind of route that he was covering. Was it Jacksaint? It might have been even Brendan Rice. It was a taller receiver. I don't remember, but he caught the slot fade, like picked it off over his shoulder, dragging his feet out of bounds. That's not a lot of corners can do that. So that is definitely something that will set him apart. He loves being physical even at 5'11". I remember, might have been the Stanford game this year, if I'm trying to remember correctly, where he was going up against Io Manor and he was just constantly pressing. He loves to be in press, even though the NFL might think he is more of a slot guy. I think he's an outside corner. We will see obviously whatever team drafts him, what they want to do. I still think he's probably a late day 3, early day 4, but he definitely put himself on the map, which I love because he is a fantastic corner. He's going to be a steal for someone later on in the draft. So let's go, baby. Go Cougs. Glad that someone stood out this week. Spencer Rattler out of South Carolina. Obviously, we all know the story. 5-star recruit, top quarterback in the country, at least dual threat coming out of high school. Goes to Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley, who just had 2 back-to-back Heisman winners. It's like, okay, this kid's next. Not quite. Definitely had some maturity issues at Oklahoma and even South Carolina, where if he humbled himself a little bit and actually acknowledged that the turnovers were a problem and his decision making was not great, then he might have stayed at Oklahoma. I highly doubt it. Caleb Williams was up and coming, and we all know the story of Williams taking over, but Rattler really showed his arm talent this week. He showed his maturity, to me at least. He had full control of the offense. He knew the verbiage. He was one of the quarterbacks that really understood what the offensive coordinators were giving them, and like quickly, at least. Like some of the guys kept looking back like, yo, say that again. Spencer Rattler was on it for the most part, from what I remember, which is big. And obviously he has a ton of upside. Like, this dude was not a 5-star recruit for no reason. The arm talent is there. The size is not. He has the mobility though, and the touchdown pass in the game that he had and that drive was all we really needed to know about his talent. Some team's going to get a nice day 2 pick, I think now. I put out my quarterback rankings thinking it wasn't going to change much. Well, it did. I think Spencer Rattler is going to go in day 2. There's no reason for him not to. And like I said, his arm talent flashed on the touchdown pass and the drive that ended with the Rosemy-Jacksaint touchdown. I love the maturity that he showed, though, mainly in the leadership. He was constantly talking with the coaches from what I saw, the other quarterbacks, knew the verbiage. Like that, those are going to be big things that go into his interview process as well, as his prospect report. As we move on to the next, Michael Hall Jr. out of Ohio State University, the Ohio State. AJ Hot Country. Obviously, 4-star recruit, big expectations there at Ohio State. He was one of the only juniors at the Senior Bowl. A little bit undersized, being an interior D lineman. I think he could flex out, though, in a 3-4 scheme and be that D end. Maybe even a 4-3, but that's a little less likely. I think in a 3-4 scheme, he could definitely play the defensive end role. His agility and athleticism flashed. That spin move that he has is unbelievably quick. I did not know he even had that in him. Like, I know he's only 280 pounds. He could bulk up a little bit, but that agility and that athleticism, even if you were to bulk up, I don't think is going anywhere. He has full control of that spin move, and the interior offensive lineman had no idea what to do with it. Obviously, he didn't have the greatest production, especially this year at Ohio State, only 1.5 sacks. He did have 25 pressures, though. He had a couple QB hits, and I think he's definitely a day 2 guy, solidified, maybe even round 2 solidified, like back end to middle of it. And he's going to be a plus pass rusher for you. Definitely could get better in the run game, and would love to just see more production. Maybe we will see that at the NFL level. Sometimes that's just how it works for people, where they don't produce a ton in college, get to the NFL, get some better coaching, and really put it on in the production department. But Michael Hall Jr., man, wouldn't mind you on the Giants. I'm not going to lie. We need some interior D-line help, and I think you might be able to help us. So another interior defensive lineman, this dude, holy hell, Braden Fiske, or Fiske, however you say. I think it's Fiske. 6'3", 295, one of the 6-year seniors that was there. And I think the most impressive thing all week was the fact that he got the call morning of that he was switching teams for the game, goes in and basically dominates the interior. Dominates. He was all over the place. I think he had like 2 tackles for loss and maybe half a sack or something like that. He had like 5 tackles. It was absurd. It really reminded me of the game I put at the bottom against Louisville, the ACC championship game, where he had 9 tackles, 3 sacks, and 4.5 tackles for loss. That is absurd. Yes, he is a 6-year senior, but I don't think that really is going to affect his stock a ton. I now have probably about a 3rd round grade on him, maybe late 3rd round, but he showed his power. He showed his ability to stop the run. He wasn't fantastic by any means in the one-on-one drills, but I did think he showed decent pass rush moves and at least a plan, because that's a big thing. Some guys just don't have a plan at the college level and just go purely off of their athleticism to get by guys. I think Braden Fiske had a plan, and he really showed that the dude's got power and a lot of it. So definitely a guy to look out for rising up, especially the interior defensive line like class. Not, top 3 or 5 or anything maybe, but definitely solidified himself in that top 10 of the interior class. Like I said, we were going to get to him. Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint, not a ton of production at Georgia over his career, really. I think this year was a career year for him, and I think this was a really, really good chance for him at the Senior Bowl this week to show what he really has, and he showed it all week. He has a combination of size and speed, 6'1", 205. That is NFL ready. In the picture, that's his touchdown. He showed his ability to catch contested balls and 50-50 balls, whatever you want to call them. And his hands are awesome. I think over the last 2 years, he didn't have a drop at Georgia. I know he didn't have, the target or the volume that a Bowers had or even a McConkey, but Rosemy-Jacksaint, man, I think could be a guy that slides into that day 2 area. Definitely will be taken in day 3 early. This is a guy that any NFL offense could use as not a deep threat, but definitely a red zone threat, and could work on his route running a little bit, definitely in his release, but a lot of potential is there. And someone who hasn't been injured a ton as well, I believe, has some good upside to him. So I wasn't really a Rosemy-Jacksaint fan, but I definitely am now, and I'll be watching some more film for sure. And another guy I will be watching a lot more film of is Adisa Isaac. We've all been hyped up over Chau Robinson, but this dude was across from him all year long and just really flew under the radar. It was win after win after win after win. I don't know if he actually recorded a loss in the one-on-one drills this week. He was fantastic in the one-on-ones, and I loved every rep. It was unbelievable to watch, honestly. I think he has some good length to him. He's got longer arms. He did have good production at Penn State with 7.5 sacks, something that Chau Robinson didn't have a ton of, was production. He has, the tons of athleticism that everyone is drawn to. But Adisa Isaac has athleticism as well that you should be drawn to. And he beat people with speed to power. He beat people with power to speed. He beat people with just straight speed around the edge. He showed some bend to him, showed some inside moves. So definitely a day 2 guy, I think, maybe even a round 2 with that potential that he has. I don't know if he goes over his teammate in Chau Robinson. We'll see about that, but definitely a guy to watch. Carlton Johnson, the undersized safety out of Fresno State, and I don't think the undersized part or aspect of him even showed this week. Like, yes, he came in at 169 pounds at 5'10". I didn't even notice it. He was pressing guys. He was playing off coverage. I love his range as a safety and his speed. He could be an instant ball hawk for you. He had 4 interceptions this year, 7 pass deflections at Fresno. which was a really good team this year as well. And he was a big part of that. I did add weight though. I think if he were to get up to like 180, it's not going to affect his speed at all. And it'll be a lot better for him in the NFL. But this isn't a guy that's going to come up and, lay the boomstick on you like an Ed Reed or Brian Dawkins. This is a guy that is going to play over the top. He's going to be a ball hawk. He's going to read the quarterback and make plays in zone coverage. And that's what he showed that all week, I thought. Even in one-on-ones that don't favor safeties, he was really, really good. Obviously took a couple losses because safeties aren't going to come down and guard wide receivers on the outside, but he showed the ability that he can at least do it somewhat well, and that's a big thing for me. Carlton Johnson, another name to look out for. Maybe not day 1 or day 2, but day 3, this guy could be a big-time steal. Cam Hart, complete opposite of Carlton Johnson. He has fantastic size for the corner position at 6'2", 204, and has great athleticism as well. He showed his physicality that that Notre Dame defense really brings out of you. And like I said, he's got a lot more speed than I think people give him credit for. And he has like prototypical cornerback 1 size at 6'2", 205. Looks like Jalen Ramsey out there. And he had great coverage grades all throughout this year. Didn't flash a ton of ball skills in like film and at the Senior Bowl, so definitely something that is a knock on him. But I think 6'2", 205, physical corner, any defense could use that, especially a defense, say like a Spagnuolo defense or a Mike McDonald defense or Vic Fangio. Like that type of defense where they're wanting to press, Cam Hart is going to be a prime candidate to get maybe even late day 2. He really shined this week, being able to press and use his length against guys. So another name to watch out for, as are all these guys. But as we get to, I believe, the last 2, Ben Sinnott out of Kansas State was by far the best tight end of the week. I thought he showed that he could play in the backfield as an H-back. He has the size, unlike Jaheim Bell, to actually play tight end. And he had really good hands all week, even though, he had drops and warm-ups, whatever. Dude's a gamer. Once drills got on, the pressure was on, he was on the money. And he has the ability to block. And like I said, he has the versatility to play H-back or tight end. And really either pop the run game or fake the block, peel out, give you that run after the catch ability. And something else to add, this dude was a walk-on. He almost went down to play D2 college football, I think, and then walked on to Kansas State and became a first-team All-Big 12. So there's your work ethic if you didn't know about him. Final guy here, Dominick Puni out of Kansas. So Kansas State, Kansas, not football schools really, but showed out here at the Senior Bowl. Originally a walk-on at Central Missouri, 6-year senior now at Kansas, and he played, I think, left tackle for Kansas this year, but they had him this week all over the line. He had played at center, he played at guard, he played at tackle, and that versatility, I think, is going to be huge for a team that maybe wants a guy that could be a swing guard or a swing tackle or just a backup that adds a ton of depth to your team because he can play it anywhere you need him. He had great hands. I never thought his hands were extremely misplaced, and that added to the power of his hands, like the shock that he gave guys with those hands. So super versatile offensive lineman, definitely has a spot on any team, I think, with that versatility. And at 6'4", 323, he can still play tackle if you want. Maybe a little bit undersized, but by what, an inch? I think the length in his arms would definitely compensate for that extra inch of height if you really wanted it. But Dominick Puni definitely showed out this week. Went up my draft board for sure. I still am going to have him as probably an interior guy. But that is it for this one. Senior Bowl risers, obviously. Some other guys I want to shout out quickly as well. Ricky Pearsall out of Florida, 2 days, gone. He was fantastic in the 2 days as well. Gabe Hall, interior D lineman out of Baylor, showed his athleticism and power. Jaquan Jackson, the receiver out of Tulane, super fast and twitchy. Trevin Wallace and Cedric Gray, the 2 linebackers, I thought played fantastic in the game and flashed in practice as well. Jarvis Brownlee out of Louisville, the corner, a little bit, skinny framed, but showed great coverage ability. Definitely needs to work on his stance, I would say, but had a great week. Theo Johnson out of Penn State, the tight end, I thought showed good blocking and catching ability. Bo Limmer, even though he'll be known as the guy who got ran over by T'Vondre Sweat, had a great week. And Patrick Paul, I know a lot of guys are going to say Tyler Guyton, but I think out of the 2 toolsy tackles in Paul and Guyton, I think Paul had the better week. I thought Guyton was a little bit inconsistent, to say the least, and I'm still not that high on him. I understand why people are, because he is 6'6", super athletic. I just didn't think he had the greatest week, in my opinion. He definitely had some really good wins, but he also had some really bad losses. So definitely is going to be a guy that you'll have to take a big chance on. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one, and peace.